Like I said, my father left when I was 3. I did not see my father again for 18 years. I was 21 years old, 21 when I saw him. It was more or less, hey, I'm your dad, glad to see you, don't want to know you. So I never saw him again. I don't know to this day if he's alive or dead, whatever. When I was 6, my mother took me to my grandparents. I probably saw her 10 times between the time I was 6 and the time I was 18, until she passed away in 1999. My grandmother was a stay-at-home grandmother. She never worked a day in her life outside the home. She was a stout Southern Baptist woman. I mean, if the church doors were open, she went to church, and that was her rule in her house. If you lived in her house, you went. They died in 1996. I buried both of them in 1996. I buried my grandmother in April, and 6 months later, I buried my grandfather. He grieved himself to death because they had been married 72 years. Then in November 2008, I hit the bottom. I got real sick. Matter of fact, on November the 11th, they took me from here by ambulance to Magnolia Hospital, and I spent 6 days in the coronary care unit. And I didn't even know it. And I woke up, and Dr. Prather, who's a cardiologist, told me, he said, big boy, and he said, you've used 8 of your 9 lives. He said, you died 8 times in here. And he said, you quit breathing 72 times.
Tell me about your first encounter with Crosswind.
Oh, June of 2008. And I'll tell you, when I first saw people from Crosswind, I was leery because we've had so many church groups in here. I've been living here since 2004, March of 2004. And we've had so many church groups in here. They'd come for a while, and then they'd be gone. And there was times I wouldn't go to my door when I saw them coming knocking up. And they had a block party. I guess it was in June or July. I think it was July of 2008. And I sat on my porch and watched them. I mean, I wouldn't even go over there. And Bobby Camps was looking at me, which I didn't know Bobby back then. He would watch me, and I'd watch him. And I didn't even get involved with Crosswind until, this is bad to say, until November the 18th, 2008.
That was coming out of the hospital?
No, I had been in the coronary care unit, and they kept telling me that the nurses would come out, because they wouldn't let nobody come back here because I didn't have no family, and they kept telling me, this little old man named Bobby Caps keeps coming by here checking on you. I was all depressed because Dr. Prather, I had asked Dr. Prather when he was going to let me go home. He said, we're not even talking about going home. And on the 18th of November, I guess it was about 10 o'clock in the morning, this little old man named Bobby Caps come knocking on my door. And he had this big guy, bald-headed guy. I never knew who he was. And it was Tommy Wilson. And they come in there, and we were talking, and we were talking about my history and my life and what was wrong with me and all this. And Tommy Wilson, just out of the blue, he asked me a question. He said, if you die today, he said, are you right with the Lord? And when he said that, the automatic thing in my head was my grandmother. Because that was one question from the time I left her home. Whether it was I called her or went to visit her, she was always ask me, are you living right? And when he asked me that, it was like somebody just stuck a knife. And on that day there, I rededicated my life to the Lord Jesus Christ. And so from that day on, I've always called Bobby and Tommy my lifesavers.